On November 5th, the Dodgeville School District is pursuing an operational referendum for the current school year through the 27-28 school year. The $2.99 million being asked for will be used to cover the expenses for curriculum, technology, wages, and day-to-day operations. The referendum is not for new buildings or improvements to existing buildings. While each amount and purpose is different, 10 other districts in southwest Wisconsin are pursuing operational referendums on November 5th. And 29 of the 31 schools in southwest Wisconsin are pursuing a referendum within a 5-year window of time. We are pursuing an operational referendum as the Dodgeville School District isn't receiving enough money to offset all of the expenses due to declining enrollment, lack of state funding, and rising costs due to inflationary times over the past 4 years. School revenue is based on students that attend each school district. Our revenue has decreased by over $1.6 million over the past 6 years due to declining enrollment and school choice programs. School choice programs include Milwaukee, Racine, and Wisconsin parental choice programs, totaling a district cost over $130,000 annually. St. Joe's is not part of the school choice program. Expenses not only in the home but also to operate our schools increased due to an inflationary period lasting over the past 4 years. Consumer price indexes, CPI, are 1.5 times higher than they were in 2020. We use these indexes to maintain competitive salaries and wages for our employees, which makes up over 60% of our budget. From the graph, one can see that since July 1st, 2010, districts have been able to rely on a CPI value around 2% for over a decade while planning a budget that includes an increase in expenses. However, in 2022, the rates increased to 4.7, then 8.0, then 4.12, and 3.07 in April of 2025. Staffing is a top priority as the costs of training new staff is significantly higher than maintaining staff, and the current reality in education is that some of our positions do not have replacement staffing currently available, which results in reduced programming or effectiveness. Another concept often misunderstood is how schools are funded. The state provides funds to schools based on student enrollments and equalized property values. Wealthy communities receive fewer dollars from the state, and poorer communities receive more dollars from the state. The local community needs to cover the remaining amount through their taxes. The state has a process through the revenue limit worksheet that determines how much money a school can receive from both the local taxes and state aid. Schools are restricted by the revenue limits that the state has in place to ensure that schools aren't overtaxing their community without asking for the money first through referendum. An increase in state aid doesn't mean that the district will receive additional funding. However, an increase in state aid means the taxpayers pay a smaller percentage of money. The amount of money going to schools remains the same unless a district has more students enrolling or they ask through a referendum. A district's revenue is maxed by the revenue limits. In the state of Wisconsin, schools have been varying amounts of financial reimbursement through per pupil aid. In 2012, the state reduced the amount of aid by $605 per pupil and gave no additional aid in 2015, 2021, and 2022. Most recently, the state has increased and promised to maintain a $325 per year per pupil for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately for schools, this variance in per pupil aid has not kept up to the CPI rates that schools have to maintain in order to keep their staff. CPI rates and state aid funding has created a $3,380 gap per student. Multiplying that by the 1,064 students we educate in the Dodgeville School District, that is equivalent to over $3.5 million. This amount is over $500,000 higher than the $2.99 million we are asking for from the community on November 5th. Some exciting news is that there has been some updates to our proposed mill rate. The amount of tax a property owner pays is determined by property values and mill rates. The school district sets the mill rate by taking the school levy divided by the equalized property values of all properties that exist in the Dodgeville School District. Prior to October 1st, we had to approximate what those values were going to be. We approximated the mill rate based on last year's values to be $9 per $100,000 property value. With this $9 mill rate, it was projected that a tax increase would be $166 annually. The good news is these values have since been updated. On October 1st of every year, equalized property values are set, and this year it was set at $1.2 billion. On October 15th of every year, the revenue limits are set, and this year ours was set for $10 million with an approved referendum. The updated mill rate is calculated to be $8.27. This would result in a $94 increase in yearly taxes, or just under $8 monthly, or 26 cents per day, all based on a $100,000 property value. Please go to our referendum landing page to explore more details about the upcoming referendum.